Okay, so I'll be working out a paper 2 for economics. Donc ça va être le papier de mai-juin 2021. Donc as you know, your paper 2, donc c'est pour AS and A-level. Donc là, vous avez le papier est cassé en deux parties. Vous avez la première section, donc section 1, where you have some information which are given in the form of a data response. It is compulsory. And then you have to answer these questions. Okay, you have some questions. And then, pour la deuxième section, vous avez 3 questions. Out of 3, you have to answer 1 question. But for today, you will be given full essay for 2 questions, and the next, I will be providing you with a plan. Donc, pour chaque question, de toute façon, je vais vous donner un plan, comment travailler, comment casser la question, afin que cela ça simplifie le travail of how to write essays for your paper 2. Allez, so let's start. Now, the section A, on va passer dessus, et puis je vais faire la question. Donc, as you know this, you can download the paper. You can already have the paper because, or you can take screenshots because it's quite lengthy. Donc, comme vous pouvez voir, c'est assez long celui-là. Donc, allez, on commence. Donc, rice farmers in Cambodia and Myanmar under pressure. Donc, we are talking about basically agriculture here between 2 countries. Donc là, bien sûr, il faut lire, malheureusement. Rice farmers across these 2 countries have been left searching for new market. Donc là, they are looking for new market veut dire que je vais retrouver nouveau marché, okay, for their product, for their crop. After the European Union has announced that it will now be imposing substantial tariffs on rice coming from both countries. Donc là, on peut voir que the EU, qu'est-ce que le EU a fait? They announced that they will be imposing tariff. Veut dire, comme là pour exporter, je t'exporte beaucoup plus cher. Donc, dit dans EU pour décourager pour acheter à cause ça même que the rice farmers in these 2 countries are looking for new markets. So, an investigation has confirmed that the increase in rice imports from these countries has been damaging to EU rice producers, d'accord? Donc, EU qui fait sa mesure de tarif là, okay? It is as a measure of protectionism here. It is protecting its economy. Or it is protecting its local producers from these countries. Donc, representatives of EU farmers welcomed the decision as the cheap rice imported from Saudis has been contributing to EU farmers and laborers, leaving agriculture migrating to towns. Veut dire ça produit qui ça rice farmers dans ces 2 pays, Cambodia avec Myanmar là, quand tu peux fait export du riz to EU, ce prix tellement est cheap, ok, donc ça, les monde dans EU tu peux content, donc qui tu peux arriver, farmers dans EU, de pas tu gagner travail. So this what was the result? They were leaving agriculture and were migrating to town. They were leaving villages. So EU rice imports from the 2 Southeast Asian countries increased from 9000 tonnes in 2012 to 360 tonnes in 2017. D'accord? Donc, on a importé plus d'épices à des pays là, que ça même que prix of rice in EU has increased because people are not buying EU's products in terms of rice. In 2018, approximately 30% of all European Union rice imports came from countries with duty-free status, with most being shipped in from Cambodia and Myanmar. D'accord? So the increase in low-price import has caused serious difficulties. The low-price import has caused serious difficulties for EU rice producers. Normal, c'est pas pour gagner la vie. Pourquoi? Because the price is better from abroad, c'est-à-dire in Cambodia et in Myanmar. Their market share has definitely dropped. Bien sûr, même les personnes which live in EU, they wouldn't want to buy the EU producers' products of rice, voilà. Donc, là, rice is currently grown across 8 EU countries, including Italy, whose government initially requested that the EU investigated the issue. D'accord? So Cambodia and Myanmar have enjoyed duty-free rice exports, so they don't have to pay much since 2010. Donc en 2010, une tier tariff were removed, okay, which aims to promote EU trade in goods. Other more developed countries in Southeast Asia including Thailand and Vietnam, have long been paying tariffs of around $200 per pound for rice export. Okay, so the EU is currently Cambodia's largest destination for rice exports, accounting for 43% of all exported rice. It is thought that Cambodia's rice industry could be put in a critical condition as a result of the tariff, definitely because Cambodia's rice will now be more expensive. This is why it could be in a critical situation. In order to offset the additional costs resulting from the tariff, local rice farmers will have to cut production costs and may need to grow different crops. Bien sûr, they will have to diversify. They cannot grow only rice in the country. One suggestion is that government subsidies could make the Cambodia's rice industry more competitive. Normal, because the EU is imposing a tariff on Cambodia's rice, making the rice more expensive. So now there are some measures that could be implemented in order to make the rice become cheaper. So the government could help in terms of the provision of local grants and subsidies in order to help the farmers of Cambodia. The impact of the tariff will ultimately depend on the extent to which EU consumers consider rice produced in the EU to be a good substitute for Cambodian rice. Ok? Donc Myanmar aussi, cette situation est similaire avec Cambodia, même issue. Now, we have a look. We have been provided with the consumer prices for both Myanmar and Cambodia for these years. Myanmar and Cambodia for en 2016 et 2020 pour les deux. D'accord. Maintenant, let's look at the questions. Compare the change in the price level in Myanmar with that in Cambodia between 2016 and 2018. Donc, là, on va devoir, on m'a dit the price level. So definitely it's the table 1.1. Okay, nothing to do with the table 1.2. It's only the table 1.1 that we have to analyze. So how to analyze that? Now we need to see qu'est-ce qui s'est passé au juste during these years. So here we can see that in 2016 c'était 6.8. Donc là, première chose, you can see that all the rates are positive. Veut dire, what happened? Ça a continué d'augmenter. 6.8. Donc là, l'increase pas là, évidemment, annual percentage, veut dire it is percentage. Malgré parmi le pourcentage là, it is in percentage. Donc en 2016, the price level has increased by 6.8%. In 2017, it has further increased by 4%. In 2018, it has further increased by 7.1. Veut dire, malgré, ban rate là, il peut fluctuer, il peut continuer à augmenter. Ici, il a augmenté par 6.8. Sorti 6.8 en 2016, donc il remontait. Il montait par 4%. Et là, il montait en 2018 par 7.1%. Veut dire, il continuait à augmenter. OK? Pareil pour Cambodia. En 2016, the prices was increased by 3%. 2017, ça devient 2.9 et en 2018, ça devient 2.5. Donc, en d'autres mots, we can see that there has been prices are keeping on increasing. D'accord? Donc là, la question est de 2 points. Donc, c'est important de savoir ce qui se passe. So, you need to analyze the graph very carefully. Okay, some students can say that for Cambodia, the prices is decreasing. No. Quand le price decrease, veut dire the percentage has to be negative. As long as it is positive, même si montant là, même si tu es dans place 2.7, c'est 0.8, peut-être prix peut continuer à augmenter. Peut-être il peut augmenter pas 0.8%. Donc here we can say that compare the change in the price level in Myanmar with that of Cambodia between 2016 and 2018. So here we can say that for both countries, we can see that the price level is increasing. So both countries are witnessing inflation. When prices are increasing, we refer it as inflation. So let's explain for the part A. So I'm talking about the data response, the section A. So the first part, 1A, it can be seen that for both countries. Prices are increasing continuously between 2016 and 2018. D'accord? Donc maintenant, the question is a two-more question. Donc we can see that if we look at the chart again, we can see that in Myanmar the price is increasing by much more. Okay, it is increasing at a faster rate as compared to in Cambodia. So we can even go to the extent and see that the increasing prices are at a much faster rate in Cambodia as compared to Myanmar. Okay, so usually this is enough for you to get your 2 marks. And la partie B, compare the current account balance of Myanmar with that of Cambodia in 2018. So let's go and check in 2018. Donc in 2018, we can see that both have negative balances. For Myanmar, it is minus 2.0. For Cambodia, it is minus 13.6. Donc là, on peut dire que les deux sont dans un déficit. Maintenant, we can see that for Cambodia, the deficit is higher. Okay? Donc, this is quite easy. Just have to say that. Both countries have a deficit in their current account, okay, implying imports exceeding exports. It can be in terms of services, of goods, of whatever, financial transaction, etc. But import is exceeding, is greater than export. Now, to further analysis, on a dit compare. Donc, on peut dire que là, we can see it is obvious that the difference is greater for Cambodia. Donc, c'est-à-dire ici, déficit là plus grand que Cambodia. Parce que the negative, 13 plus 6, it is higher. So the deficit for Cambodia, is much greater, we are higher than that of Myanmar. Voilà. This is the part B. Ok. Donc ça c'est la partie A et la partie B. We have already worked it out. Done. Maintenant la partie C. Explain any two policies that could improve the competitiveness of rice from Myanmar and Cambodia in the EU, in the European Union market. Okay. So here it is, how many marks? 4 marks. Yes, it is 4 marks. Donc, what could improve the competitiveness of rice? So we have several. The one is when the government of Myanmar and Cambodia come in order to help the government. So we can, comment gouvernement capable aider? Pareil comment là, oh bon, at times the answer could be somewhere lying in the small information that you have here. Ici qui dit European Union li pay aid so man local producers. Qui paye de nous qui paye de nous ici là? Il dit quelque part là, une cause subside ici là. We talked about subsidy. I think there was subsidy here. Yes. So one solution is that government subsidies could make Cambodia's rice industry more competitive. So it has been mentioned here, one suggestion. So we can put the first one itself as a policy of how to increase the competitiveness of Cambodia and Myanmar. So the first one could be provision of subsidies. D'accord? This could be one, and then you have to explain. So you give one, you identify one policy, you explain, you already get 2 marks. Now you have to give another one. Donc, le cas cause in terms of government même, improving the quality, ou bien we can adopt other measures as well, other than the government adopting policies. So the second could be devaluation of currency, c'est-à-dire they tend to reduce the value of their currency. So we have the devaluation of the currency. D'accord? So we have other measures also, so let's write the essay. Let's write the 4 more question now. Explain each policies. So one policy could be the provision of subsidies in the form of financial support by the government. The subsidy is likely. So what is the effect of a subsidy? It's likely to reduce or decrease the producers. So ici c'est pas que soit producers ou bien farmers, cost of production. Okay, and thus giving them an incentive to harvest. You have to application, harvest more rice, causing price to fall, causing price of rice to fall, thus increasing the competitiveness of rice, thus increasing the competitiveness of rice. Next policy, also both Cambodia and Myanmar can devalue their currency. Okay, so devaluation. Donc, devaluation, c'est quoi? Une baisse la valeur. Donc, there's a fall in the value of the currency. Okay? A devaluation defined, you can provide a small definition if you want, defined as a fall in a country's currency is likely to make both countries exports cheaper, and imports more expensive. Hence, exporting rice by Cambodia and Myanmar will appear cheaper for abroad countries. So now see, we can say that what will happen, this will increase the competitiveness of wine. I will give you another one. So the government can also, instead of only provide provisional subsidies or whatever, the government can also provide such like grants in order to encourage the production. Donc de capable provide latest technology, donc for rice harvest, a good infrastructure, investing in research and development. D'accord? C'est pas que ces deux mesures-là. Vous pouvez quand vous avez une question de 4 points, c'est pas nécessaire de mettre que 2 policies and then you stop it here. If however one of the ideas that you have included in the answer does not make so much sense, at times arrivé ça, vous êtes capable d'aller un petit peu irrelevant quand vous répondre à une question, you can put another policy if you have it. So government can provide subsidies, ou bien, donc on a déjà dit subsidies, on peut mettre le gouvernement capable de produire, on appelle ça des incentives provided by the government to the rice farmers in order to improve the quality of rice. D'accord, il est capable d'improve in terms of investing in research and development. Il est capable de donner latest technology for rice cultivation. Il est capable de servir une méthode assez green technology. We have also c'est une question application un petit peu, nous because agriculture. Donc nous avons un petit peu green technology, nous avons un petit peu méthode newest technology to improve the quality of farming. Okay, so government can come because quand même Cambodia avec Myanmar, these are countries which are they are not too well off, they are not developed countries, they are still in the developing stage. So they don't have these types of technologies. So the government can come and provide them with incentives in order for them to carry out research and development, use latest technology. You have also, so I will add it. I hope you have understood. So government incentives. So we have R&D, we have latest technology, sophisticated machine, whatever. You have green technology. You have sophisticated methods of farming. Donc all these, the government can provide all these in order to improve and enhance the cultivation of rice. This definitely would make it more productive and as well as competitive. D'accord? Okay, so you can take a screenshot of the page and then we move on to the next question. La partie D. Ok, so next part, donc la partie C on a terminé. Maintenant la partie D, discuss 2 factors that will determine the extent of the impact the EU tariff will have on the economies. Donc 2 factors. Donc quand on met un tarif, il affecte nous demand, basically affecte nous demand because quand on impose un tarif, il devient plus cher. Donc est-ce qu'il dit moun pour capable acheter? This depends on 2 main factors. The 2 main factors will be the price elasticity of demand. So PED. These will be the 2 main factors we have to discuss. Then you have the XCD. This we have to debate on that. Okay? Alright, let's get started. the impact of the tariff. Allez, let's start. Il n'y a pas d'idée. The impact of the tariff is likely. So firstly, you have to explain the impact. Huh? You have to say what is the impact exactly. So it's likely to raise the price of the good, thus reducing or causing the quantity demanded to fall. This is the impact of a tariff. Usually, this is the impact of a tariff. Maintenant, bien sûr, we have to explain two factors that could determine the extent. Okay, now. Donc là, nous finissons the price will increase. You can put a small diagram if you want. Okay, so it's like to raise the price of the goods causing the quantity demanded to fall. Vous pouvez mettre un petit diagramme. Bon. The first factor determining the extent of the tariff is the price elasticity of demand. Okay, so PED, you can put it in definition, measures the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded as a result of a change in price. D'accord? Donc, bien sûr, PED veut dire il peut mesurer by how much quantity demanded is changing whenever price is changing. C'est bon. Okay, so the first factor determining the extent of the PED, it measures, donc now we have already defined the PED. For example, so rise can be viewed as a necessity. Donc là, for example, if the demand is inelastic, for example, if demand for rice is inelastic, this implies that an increase in price of rice would cause a less than proportionate fall in quantity demanded. Donc, il ne peut baisser pas beaucoup. Donc, therefore, the tariff might be ineffective. Il est dans l'effet là, c'est comment dire, il met un tarif, donc, so therefore, hence, the level of Cambodia's and Myanmar exports might not be adversely affected. This is one. Okay, the price elasticity of demand. This means that it won't be affected by that much. The second point that you can write is the cross elasticity of demand. You provide a definition. Okay, you provide the definition of the pareil, un petit peu pareil, même si ça va être bon. Façon d'écrire, you have to define your XCD, which is the cross elasticity of demand. D'accord? You have the cross elasticity of demand, so you define it. Pareil comme j'ai fait pour PED, you will define, and then you will explain. For example, if the demand for rice is cross elastic, donc is highly cross elastic, and then you will explain. So what is the definition of cross elasticity of demand? Donc, this is the definition of cross elasticity. Maintenant, quand on because cross elasticity, there need to be a relation between the two types of goods. So the goods can be either substitutes, whether they are in competitive demand, or they can be complements. Donc là, vous pouvez dire, for example, if the substitute, the price of substitute increases, for example, le prix du pain, ça augmente. Donc, you have to explain the effect. D'accord? So, this is how you will explain for XCD also. Donc, je pense que si vous avez pu comprendre the price elasticity, the cross elasticity will be similar. So, then you have to explain whether it will be, donc ça dépend. S'il est inélastique, s'il est élastique, what will be the effect and whether it will be, the tariff, whether it will be effective. D'accord? So, this is for the part D. And then, next, la partie E, discuss the view. So the part D we have already answered. The part E, discuss the view that the EU should give tariff-free access to the EU market to all producers of rice. Okay, donc, these types of questions, when you have discussed, you have to write yes and no. You cannot just write yes answers. Donc, yeah, you have, donc, tariff-free access, c'est quoi? C'est quoi tariff-free access? It is tariff-free access is free trade. So here you need to give the advantages and the disadvantages of free trade. Donc c'est un petit peu ça ici. Donc la partie E, donc tariff-free veut dire que non, everything is free. You don't have to, it is so this the loss part, it relates to free trade and protectionism, reasons for protectionism. So the first paragraph, you need to explain why you have to. Donc la partie E. Donc this question, ça doit être cassé en deux parties, en trois parties quand même. Donc ok, why. Donc c'est quoi la question? Why free tariff access should be given. Donc here you have to give the benefits or the advantages of free trade. Et puis deuxième paragraphe, we have to explain why free tariff access should donc why tariff should not be given Donc là, vous allez devoir mettre why trade should be protected. Donc for the first one, benefits of free trade. So here you can explain a bit on donc it improves the relation between countries, it improves bilateral trade, donc for specialization also can have free trade. Donc all these are some advantages of free trade. So you can see that the EU should give tariff-free access to all producers since it will allow local consumers to get qualitative rice at relatively low prices. Okay, if we're talking about EU importers, also they will be benefited because they are buying. Okay, they will be getting it from EU importers also pour benefit quand on a free trade. Il pas applique juste pour un côté. It's a two-way traffic. D'accord? Donc, also EU importers quand on a free trade access, je suis capable c'est pour importer raw materials or whatever. Donc, EU importers will also benefit from importing from other countries. Job opportunities can be created. In the EU market. Also, EU consumers gain plus de variété. C'est pas pour consommer this EU product can maintain free tariff access. We can import whatever we want. So EU consumers will also be able to enjoy a variety of rice from other countries and this may improve relations between countries. This may improve relations between countries. Also, we have and create trading partner. Right. These some reasons why trade should be free. However, trade-free access may be harmful to EU farmers, especially those who are inefficient, because they will lose market as they cannot produce effectively. However, tariff-free trade may be detrimental to producers, especially to those EU farmers who fail at being effective. Donc, they will be adversely affected. Fait comment dire, je peux mettre tarif, je peux tirer tarif, donc je ne sais pas pour que travail. Donc, they will be out of job. This is why it is harmful. D'accord? Et puis, also, trade should be protected because EU farmers are the sunset industry, whether they are industry which are in the declining stage. The European Union nous fait que l'agriculture. C'est une industrie qui peut decline. Donc, government need to protect them. That requires sunset industry. C'est une industry which are in the declining stage. That requires government support and protection. Si le gouvernement n'a pas protégé ceux qui ferment, they will be out of job, they will be unemployed. D'accord? This is why it is required, okay, for government to protect this company in order for them to survive a longer period. D'accord? So these are reasons why it should not be protected. Maintenant, après, also, sunset industry employs people. Also, sunset industry employ a substantial amount of people. Donc, si les ferment, bon, ça va diminuer, they will be out of job. Voilà. Okay, so you can take the screenshot of the page and then we move on to the section B. So this was the body. Allez. Maintenant, we move on to the section B. Allez. In 2018, the UK government concerned about the rise in obesity, particularly among youngsters, and then they impose a tax on producers for sugar-sweetened drinks, which are soft drinks. State what is meant by demerit good, and with the help of diagrams, explain how a tax on producers can improve allocation of resources in the market for sugar-sweetened drinks. Allez. Premièrement, n'importe quelle question que vous faites, you have to provide a small plan. Là, vous ne pouvez pas écrire un paragraphe, comment je commence ici là, non. A small plan of how to proceed. Firstly, demerit goods, on va dire the state, so define. First thing that you have to do, you have to define your demerit goods. I am giving you the plan for the essay. You have to define the demerit goods. You can provide a small tiny definition on tax and its general effect. And then you come straight forward to the question. So what is the effect of tax showing on a diagram? And then tout simplement you explain the diagram. And then you provide a small explanation on how it allocates resources. Good. Voilà. C'est tout pour une question de 8 points. Pas besoin de provide conclusion, justification, recommendation. Pour les questions de 8 points, c'est pas nécessaire. Ça, c'est justification, etc. C'est important pour les questions de 12 points. Pas pour 8 points. Good. So you can take a small screenshot of the plan. Allez. Now we look at the solution. The solution is here. So state what is meant by demerit good. A demerit good is defined as a type of good which causes harm to society and generates negative externalities. It refers to any type of good which are generally overconsumed and where people underestimate the hazards related to the consumption of such good due to information failure. Donc, information failure, it is one of the characteristics of a demerit good. So this is why it is important for the government to come forward with regulations to control the production of demerit goods. This is why it is important. D'accord, donc voilà. Here you have defined demerit goods. Apart from being a fundamental source of revenue to the government, taxes also contributed towards constraining consumption or production of certain goods. A tax on the level of production is likely to increase the production of producers, thus shifting the supply curve to the left as shown by the diagram below. Donc, quand on peut imposer une taxe, ce cost of production peut venir plus cher, it will cause the supply to shift to the supply curve shift to the left, causing price to increase. Donc, bien sûr, une taxe, il peut faire que la vie plus chère. Donc, then you have already written the diagram. You have already drawn the diagram. Now you can explain the diagram. Okay, so you can provide, you can have a screenshot of this, of the first part, and then we move on. Voilà. So from the above diagram, we observe that the imposition of the tax causes a leftward shift. Causing a leftward shift causes the equilibrium to change from E to E1. Donc, on trouve equilibrium peut changer from E to E1 and resulting. So take the screenshot of this page or a picture. So from the amber figure, we observe that the imposition causing a leftward shift to the supply curve causes the equilibrium to change from E to E1, donc nous trouve resulting price to increase from P to P1. Donc this you can see it here. Price is increasing from P to P1. Voilà, c'est là. Maintenant, the increase in prices caused by the shift in supply is likely to have an impact of consumers, causing them to consume less. Bien sûr, prix augmenté. Okay, the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Prix augmenté, quantité pour baisser. Donc là, on est capable aussi de dire qu'il y a l'impact. Donc, il peut causer un upward movement in the demand curve. Effectivement, le demand curve, commencement ici là. La ligne là, il y a un upward movement qui peut causer quantité to decrease. Quantity demanded to decrease. Donc là, hence causing an upward shift in the demand curve, causing a fall in quantity demanded as a result of the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Donc c'est ça, un inverse relationship là qui fait quantity demanded baisser. Hence, the combined effect of the tax is likely to decrease the level of production as well as consumption of sugar sweetened drinks, thus correcting any sorts of market failure and externalities, and resources could be allocated to healthier drinks. Voilà, c'est tout. This is for the question of 8 marks. It depends on your handwriting, it depends on the way you have put your diagram. En principe, it should be 1 page and a half when you are writing, not much than that. Okay, voila. So I hope you have taken the screenshot of this part. Okay, next we talk about compare the likely effectiveness of a policy of imposing minimum prices on demerit goods with one other policy to improve. Donc là, on va discuter de deux policies. And the imposition of minimum, avec deuxième, une autre policy qui nous est capable de choisir. Et là, nous allons considérer que which one is likely to be more successful. Donc là, bien sûr, c'est un petit peu un débat. We have to explain, we have to give justification, we have to discuss. Donc c'est ça qui est une question de 12 points, un petit peu plus application. Donc là, premier policy de le minimum price. Donc nous discuss le minimum price là. On a une petite définition de minimum price, also known as price floor. C'est un legislated price qui est fixé above the equilibrium price. The main objective is to help producers to get a decent revenue. Imposition of minimum price on demerit goods, nous capable de montrer un seul. Donc pas juste on demerit goods, on any types of goods. So here it is. Now, voilà, it can be shown as follows. Donc là, you have the demand, you have the supply, and the minimum price is put here. Voilà, donc ça, j'ai terminé. And then I can explain the diagram. Donc là, you can see that the minimum price is above and causes price to increase. Donc, bien sûr, une question de 12 points, ne pas dire que oui, minimum price is very good. Nous allons dire oui, it's quite good. However, in our limitations. Donc, from above, it is seen that the imposition of the maximum prices causes price to increase from P to P1. Bien sûr, nous pouvons trouver que it causes the price to increase. And also causes an excess of supply over demand. Comment nous pouvons trouver qu'il y a un excess of supply over demand? Que c'est un minimum price puis intersects a supply curve. This is the quantity that producers are producing. Et là, que c'est un même minimum price puis cut sa demand curve là. Ça c'est cut. Consumers puis demand. Donc là, nous avons trouvé que Q1, bien sûr, est plus grand que Q2. Ou bien nous avons dire que supply est plus grand que demand. Là, nous dire il y a un excess of supply over demand. Et quand il y a un excess de production, comment nous dire ça? Il y a un surplus. Donc, therefore, there is an excess of supply over demand, thus creating a surplus of demerit goods. Donc, initially, the equilibrium, nous explique the diagram. Initially, the equilibrium quantity was at Q. With the increase in prices, quantity demanded has been reduced to Q2, thus discouraging consumption. Donc là, still, it's a good thing. Là. Il décourage la consommation. Donc, consumers may be discouraged to spend on demerit goods. Thus, to some extent, public health can be improved. This is the first analysis that can be seen from this diagram. However, maintenant, you will give some of the limitations of the minimum prices. However, it is important to acknowledge that the surplus has been created as a result of the minimum prices, and it is likely to have some adverse implications. For example, some informal market might arise. Donc, comment je connais? Minimum prices. Quand il y a un minimum prices, il y a des affaires qui nous appellent the black market. C'est-à-dire, ça même pas de goods là, malgré le gouvernement les limite sur consommation, maintenant de pouvoir ni une autre place, maybe at lower prices in order to encourage people to buy it. So here we have some informal markets that might arise in the form of black market, where the demerit goods are illegally sold at lower prices to the detriment of the consumer's health. Donc ça va dire là, il n'a pas acheté. Surtout those who are really addicted, they would like to buy for this product. In order maintenant qu'arriver le gouvernement, at times il est capable d'intervenir. In order to remedy such situation, the government would have to buy all the surpluses. Thus, it increases the government spending. Donc, il y a un travail en plus for the government here. It will have to increase its expenditure. Also, for producers, the rise in prices can encourage them to import close substitutes and sell them at lower prices. De capable trouver les autres façons. In order to make people become addicted to certain types of drugs, for example. Donc, pas veut dire que ça s'arrête là même. Donc, la même qui nous can dire que this makes the minimum price ineffective. Furthermore, the extent to which the quantity demanded will fall will depend on the price elasticity of demand. Donc, pas veut dire qu'en prix augmenté, quantité peut diminuer pas beaucoup. Fait comment dire, surtout quand nous parlons que demerit goods, the demand is quite inelastic because some people are very addicted to certain types of demerit goods. Et rise, pas veut dire, là par exemple, tous les années, cigarettes augmentent. Le prix de cigarettes, ça augmente. Est-ce que ça décourage les gens à consommer? Pas vraiment. Donc, the demand for cigarettes is inelastic in Mauritius. So, a rise in price would not cause quantity demanded to fall by much. So here we say that if the demand is inelastic, for example, a rise in price would lead to a less than proportionate fall in quantity demanded. Hence, quantity will fall, but not by that much. Donc, is it effective? Pas vraiment. A better measure in order to discourage the consumption of demerit goods could be the imposition of an indirect tax. This would have an effect to reduce the supply by shifting it to the left while causing the price to rise, which would in turn cause the quantity demanded to fall. C'est un petit peu pareil qu'on avait dessiné dans la première partie. Donc, hence, there will be a fall in production as well as in consumption. Là, les deux vont baisser. However, again, ici aussi, comment nous dire que sa politique est plus effective? It will depend on the degree of the price elasticity of demand of the good. Si demand ici encore, demand est inélastique, bon, pas vraiment que quantity demanded will fall as a result of an increase in prices. Increase of prices quand il est plus effective for the demand est very elastic. A better measure could be by raising of awareness and correcting any source of information failure. Nous capable d'organiser un séminaire ou un sensitization campaign so as to sensitize the public about the hazards related to the consumption of demerit goods. Mais malgré ça, at times, it does not work. So there's a high degree of addiction to some demerit goods. Therefore, the government will have to be strict and come forward to impose rules, regulations, and laws in order to limit or even ban the consumption of certain demerit goods. À taille, les autres mesures qui nous disent là ou là, n'est pas marché. Parce que c'est un démon est vraiment addicted to that. Est-ce que ça peut empêcher consume? Not much. D'accord? So this is how you answer question of 12 marks. C'est pas que you have to debate a bit with the question. Yes, in question of 2 marks, of 12 marks, surtout pour le papier 2, you have to give yes and no answer. Okay, you have to debate it. Okay, so you can take the screenshot of that. Okay, so first part, then second, okay, well, so this was the question 2 for the section. So the 2 questions, this we will do in the next video.